Good morning, everyone. By a show of hands, who's excited to talk about appliances? Let's do the wave. Can we get that start? No? Okay, just me? All right. Good morning. Welcome to Facility Fridays. I am the facilitator of Facility Fridays, Mark Munden, the facilities coordinator. That's a lot of facilities. Thank you for making it out. We're going to talk about our topics this week, and we're going to talk about appliances, specifically washers and dryers, and we're going to touch on stove and ranges a little bit. And then at the end, we'll open it up for questions. So I'm going to ask you to sit on your hands and hold those questions until the Q&A portion. Is that good? All right. So I was so excited when I woke up this morning. Appliances. I'm serious. Somebody said I needed to get a life, which can also be true, but let's get this thing started. We're going to talk about washing machines, and primarily we have the front-loaded washing machines here at Horizon House. There are a few apartments that still have the top-loaded, and we're actually we're kind of debating on moving forward if we should go with the top load, which has its benefits and negative points too. So we're kind of back and forth, but the front load has its benefits too, and that's what we primarily have at Horizon House. So with that, we're going to kind of go over how to operate them, and contrary to popular belief, they're not as intuitive as they look, and so many of you may have experienced some issues with that. And so hopefully after this brief sort of synopsis, we'll have a better idea or gain some insight. First of all, we want to. Did you know? Were you guys aware that if you use the wrong soap or too much soap, that you could actually cause the washing machine to, you could cause a flood. And what happens if you use the wrong soap, and it's a high efficiency laundry detergent, by using too much of it or using something that doesn't have that brand, it looks like the HE brand right there, which you'll see on the container, letting you know that you're using the right soap. If you use the wrong soap, what tends to happen is when it's draining, it's too much, the suds are too much, and there's someone really smart with these new appliances calculated how much force versus how much volume goes down the drain at one time. And if you add too much soap, you throw that calculation off, and it actually suds so much that the amount of water that's going down the drain kind of backs up, and it can cause it to flood. So how do we stop that? First, we use the right soap, the high efficiency soap. We put it in the right place, and we use the right amount. I know that the high efficiency detergents are concentrated, and we don't have to use as much. I remember when my mom taught me how to wash my clothes as a young man, latchkey kid, and I was hey, more soap. I played hard. I was in the mud a lot, so more soap. I got to get the extra dirt out. And I think the way it used to work, well, it probably didn't work that way then, but it definitely doesn't work that way now, where more soap, it gets cleaner. These are high concentrate detergents, so you use the specified amount. And most of the washers we have now, there's a tray you pull out in the top corner, and there's a place where you put the soap right here. And there's a maximum and minimum amount that you want to put in there. So you have that range. More soap is maximum, and less soap is minimum. You want to add that before you start the washer. If you have the liquid, which is what I think works best, but there are high efficiency powders that it's got to have the HE logo on it. But you also, and when you do that, this tray actually, and most of them, comes out, and there's another level that tells you not to go past, not to fill past that level for the powder. If you don't have the powder, you can leave that insert in and pour it right in there. Then close it, then start the washer. All right. If we oftentimes we've run into people using the wrong soap or using too much soap. So once you put the proper amount of soap in, whether that be high efficiency liquid or high efficiency powder, you can also put there are different departments for clean. What is it? Hang on one second. There's bleach and there's fabric softener. There are departments for that too. Those go in separate departments. I think this is a bleach one, and I think this one is a pre-wash, and then this might be a fabric softener. Yeah, that's it. Bleach, fabric softener. And depending on what type of washer you have, it might be located a little bit, might look a little different. That's kind of a generic one. But we want to make sure we get the bleach in the bleach, fabric softener in the fabric softener, and the detergent in the detergent. And, of course, the right amount. Close that. Bob's your uncle. Hit start. And there you go. Now, the other thing, there's several ways to sort of wash. And I know with these new washing machines, it can get kind of complicated. Because they're all a little bit different, GE is different from LG, and LG is different from Whirlpool, and depending on what age your Whirlpool is versus your, the age of the G, they're different. So if you ever feel like you need a crash course on how to operate your specific washing machine, call the front desk and put in a work order. I'm happy to have somebody come up and show you and walk you through the steps. They're all a little bit different, but I'm just kind of giving an overview today. Okay? So once you put in the liquids and close the drawer, you can then set your washer. And there are different modes you can use. They're delicates and heavy loads and that kind of thing. And all of that just changes the amount of water and when and the temperature of the water and when these are deployed. So let's say you have something that's delicate, then it's going to deploy the bleach at a different time than it's going to deploy the fabric softener and so on and so forth. That's what that controls. And it also controls the amount of water and the wash time. Does that make sense? It does not make sense. Well, we'll come back if you have a question about that at the end when the Q&A section, all right? But that's control. Essentially, that is basically the different settings control when those are released and how much spin and how much water. That's what that controls. But we'll get back to that. Once you put that in, set it, forget it. The washing process should happen. My tip, as far as best practices, I would always follow the instructions on the detergent. I would also use the fill levels that are recommended. I also would be I would not try to put a lot of duvets and a lot of volume into the washer. The new washers aren't like the old washers, right? I'm just gonna say it. They're really energy efficient, and they're trying to conserve water, and they're also trying to run smarter, which is different from the old washers where you could put 6 duvets and a rug and my brother, when he gets on my nerves, you can put him in there too and press wash, and it'll all wash. It'll all come out in the wash. That's what my mom used to say. But the new ones, you have to really pay attention to the instructions on how to use the washer. And then what we don't want to do is overload it, because then it doesn't, with the front load washers, you may notice that the inside of the wash chamber is a lot smaller than the top load. And that's because, again, they're trying to be energy efficient using the amount of water and the amount of energy that they're using there. So it's quite a bit different. So I would always, as far as best practices, not try to load in. If I'm doing a duvet, just one duvet. Not duvet, 6 sweaters, and of course I'm going to throw my brother in there because he's getting on my nerves. I'm just going to wash the duvet, okay, and follow the instructions. That's the thing with the other thing I want to talk about, best practices with washers. Once the clothes come out, they should be fairly dry. If they're sopping wet, some things might be wrong. Something might be wrong with the washer or the amount of clothes that we put in there to wash. The other thing, if we ran a light wash on a heavy load, if I put a duvet in and I ran a light wash, there might be spots in the duvet that are dry, like there's not enough water to come through. So you really have to sort of know what you're washing and follow the instructions. Again, if there are any questions on, hey, this isn't working, or I don't understand this, please, the team will be happy to come up and kind of walk you through how to use it and or fix an issue that may be an issue. All right. The last thing I want to say, best practice, after we pull all the clothes out and they're damp, we want to leave the washer door ajar. We do not want to make it. It's intuitive that you want to shut it, but there's a rubber ring that seals in the front of the washer, and that can retain some water. And if it does, and it's closed all the time, mold or grime or whatever, and we want that to air out every time. So you don't have to leave it all the way open, but you want to leave it ajar. And those are some of the best practices. Again, hold those questions until the Q&A. All right. Next, we're going to talk about dryers. Now, this is my favorite. And if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you. But no, let's talk about dryers. There are 2 types of dryers at Horizon House, believe it or not. They're the kind that are vented, which has a vent in the back of the dryer that when the air is pushed, the air is pushed out. And we all have vented dryers in the North Tower. In the Central and East Tower and in the West Wing, they are not vented. They're ventless, with the exception of the ones that are in the on every floor has a stack. Those are vented. I'm saying if you have a washer and dryer in your apartment in the Central and East and West Tower, if you have it in your apartment, they are ventless. And what that means is, of course, it dries a lot slower, and it does not have a way for hot air or air to escape. So it definitely slows down the drying time immensely, and they're a lot smaller. The reason they are ventless in the apartments and not in the main stack, which again are vented. The reason they're ventless is when they built the building, there was no vented stack in the apartments, and that's why most apartments don't have them. Some do now because we brought water and a drain there, but it's hard to get a vent to go out there. So luckily, there's we were fortunate enough to find. I think it's kind of a European thing to have a ventless dryer, which you don't have to have the vent that exits the structure. So I'm going to talk now that we kind of know the 2 types, and again, hold the questions until the end. The thing about the new dryers, ventless or vented, they're energy efficient and quite a bit smaller than the dryer that I grew up on. The dryer I grew up on, I could almost crawl inside. They were that big, and the new ones are just, I mean, you put a sweater and a duvet in there, and that's it. So they're a lot smaller, and they're really going with energy efficient. So the amount of power that they use, they're really trying to be responsible and use less power, which leads to longer dry times. Now, there's a hack that I know that I'm going to share with everyone in this room about how to use the dryer. There are two different ways to use it. You can use the automatic drying cycle, which you put in your clothes, you turn it to, if you have cotton or permanent press or whatever, and usually it'll display a certain amount, and then you hit start, right? And what that does is it uses a combination of things. It uses a program that's based on where you set the dial, and it also uses a sensor, a sensor inside that senses when the clothes are dry. When it senses the clothes are dry, it says, hey, I'm done here, and I'll shut off. So most of the time that with certain items, if you have a t-shirt and maybe a shirt in there, it can work. But when you have socks and a sweater and maybe a blanket, if that sensor senses that a sock is dry, it's going to say, hey, I'm done. And your blanket could be damp, often is damp. And so you go in and you're like, well, it stopped, and it's not drying. Well, that's because it's using the sensor. It's using the automatic dry setting. So that's one way to do it. The way I do it is really I go to the time dry. And the time dry gets rid of the sensor. And when I set it to the time dry, I can then set the amount of heat. So I can go no heat, medium heat, high heat, and I can set the time that I want it to go to. And then regardless of how the sensor, because the sensor's out of the equation, it will keep going until the time quits. I do want to say there is a sensor in there, but the sensor's only going to say, hey, this is so hot, it's not safe. Then it'll stop the dryer. But it's not going to be measuring the clothes. Does that make sense? So the time dry is kind of like the old dryer where, when I was a kid, I would, again, put my brother in the dryer and turn it on for 30 minutes and set the heat to high. It just goes. It just goes. And that's the way the time dry setting works, exactly like that, like the old dryers. So that's typically, when I use a dryer, that's typically the one that I use. And you get a rhythm for the clothes that I'm washing, and this week it's laundry day, so I'm going to do, I got to wash the sheets, and I got to wash this. And you get a rhythm of how much time that is. I know I'm putting X, Y, and Z in, and it's going to take 45 minutes. Set time dry to 45, set it to time dry, set it to whatever heat setting, and then set it to 45 minutes. And let's say I'm doing the duvet, the next load, that might be an hour. But I'll get a rhythm based on the clothes and the things that I'm using. Does that make sense? That works for the dryer in your apartment. It works for a ventless dryer, and it also works for the dryer that's in the community dryer. We good? Does that make sense? Again, if you have questions, hold on to those questions. All right. For my next trick, we're going to talk about stoves and ranges. This is kind of brief, but we kind of have two. We kind of have two types, and most people have the standard cooktop. And then we have the induction. And the induction is just new technology that cooks faster and heats really fast. And then when you and it's really efficient. And then when you turn it off, the top gets cool really quickly. It's really great. It kind of changes. You have to change the way you cook because it heats so quickly. It's different than if you're making an omelet. you can burn that omelet really quickly because it just heats differently. In addition to that, you kind of have to have a different cookware. So if you have, cookware that it doesn't use you have to get a special type of cookware to use on that, or it won't work. So if you have a lot of cookware that you have and you want to go to an induction, you be prepared to replace your cookware. I'm sorry? Well, questions, hold on to them. I want to just talk about some best practices as far as using your stove. First of all, I would not suggest that we have anything on the top of these surfaces unless it's a pot or something that's that you're cooking on. I've seen some apartments where they have objects that are flammable and or that can melt. And because of these cooktops, the way they hold heat or conduct heat, you could be cooking here and it could be melting over here because they conduct heat. Some of them, I would suggest, best practices, I would not have anything that's flammable or there's something that can melt at any time on the top of that. I just wouldn't. I would not cook anything and leave the apartment. I would not. Some people are like, I'm going to boil some water and I'm going to go check my mail. Well, I mean, things can happen where, I forgot my key, I can't get back inside, and then the fire department's here. I wouldn't cook anything and take a nap. Those are just some of the best practices that I'd be very mindful about what I put on the top. We've had a number of fire alarms that have happened, and it's because people leave something on the cooktop that shouldn't be on the cooktop. And we've had it where people are like, I just went to check my mail and my eggs are burnt and the fire department's here. Best practices, that would be key, high on the list. The other thing is there's a cleaner that you can buy. You can find it. You can find it online or the grocery store that really works well to clean the cooktops. A lot of people are like, I'll just use 409 or whatever, and sure, that'll clean it. But there's a special cleaner that actually does a pretty good job of keeping it clean, and I would suggest using that cleaner. And those are my sort of best practices for the most part. All right. Now, we're going to go to we're into the back end, and questions are coming. I know I can feel them. I want to talk about the importance of work orders. And again, if you have any questions regarding on how to use your washer and dryer or your stove or anything like that, I'm going to suggest putting in a work order is the best way to sort of get that answered. And putting in a work order is not stopping me in the hallway and talking about work orders. I'm happy to talk about anything. Trust me, you guys are interesting and fun and great people. But if you see me in the hallway, I'm usually just carrying this or something heavy. I'm not going to remember very much because I probably got stopped 6 or 7 times between where I'm trying to get to, which I enjoy and love, and please stop me in the hallway. I love you guys. But that's not the way to put in a work order. That's not a way to have me remember anything. Again, I started here at Horizon House, and I didn't have any gray in my beard. And now I do. And I'm going on 7 years here, which isn't a long time. It's a drop in the bucket, right? But I think the fast pace life of Horizon House, I'll just say that, I got a few more grays. Now. With the grays, the memory's starting to go too. So I'm not going to remember if you stop me in the hallway, long story short. So the importance of putting in work orders is submitting work orders is important. And how we do that, the process is to go through the front desk. And you want to call 0 on the front desk. The front desk is here 24/7. You know who's not here 24/7? This guy. You know who's not here 24/7? Jay. But you know who's here 24/7? Someone at the front desk. So call 0 and submit a work order by dialing 0 to start the process. It is not a sustainable practice to leave a phone call for me, because that's going to delay it if I'm not here, if I'm out sick. It's not sustainable to stop Brian Holtz or to write an email to any of the Brians. I think we have 17 now. The best way to get a work order, to submit a work order, is to call the front desk. That's the most. That's gonna get you into the system and the fastest. And if you email me or Brian Holtz or Sean, the question that they're gonna ask is, great, I understand. Did you submit a work order? And so that is the fastest way. So the importance of submitting work orders in the process is really important. Now we get to the fun part. Questions and answers. Q&A. Oh, we got some hands. I'm in the hot seat. Let's see if I can handle it today.
Oh. How do you check on those work orders?
How do I check the work orders?
No. I call in a work order.
Yes.
Leave it. And then 2 weeks later, nothing's happened. And I called Jay and said, Jay, whatever happened to this?
Right.
But I don't have any reference for her, like a work order number or to whom I gave the work order.
What happens on the back end behind the curtain, to answer that question, if you have your apartment number, we should be able to look up that work order.
Should.
Can.
Did you have a question?
Can and do. But we've got to have the apartment number, and then that's where we can start to look at it. Jay's a good resource for that. I'm a good resource for that, but I would start there. Any front desk associate can also look that up, but that's how you get the ball rolling. If you have any questions about work orders, you can go through Jay. Great resource. If I'm at my desk, great resource. Front desk associate can get the ball rolling. If you say, hey, I put in a work order, what's going on with this? They'll ask you what your apartment number is, and then they'll get back to you. The front desk. Yeah. Next question.
I have two questions about washers.
Okay.
What about the soap pads? The
thing that kids were eating a little while ago, right? Weren't they doing that? The pods, right?
Not the pods.
Oh, not the pods. Okay.
The sheets.
The sheets.
And powder.
Okay.
Where do you put it?
So if it has hang on, let me get back to the thing. If it has this symbol,
yeah.
you can use it. And the powder you can use, like I said, isn't this insert where the red is, and on some of them you can take it out and it'll have a place where you can put the powder.
If it
does not,
it isn't a powder.
Okay, you're talking about this. I thought you said sheets and powder.
No. The sheet.
Okay. Are you talking about? Okay, so there is a washing sheet that you can have that dissolves. You're talking about those. And I think those are the biodegradable, like those. You can put those sheets as a sheet into the washer. You can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So put it in the.
But what I wouldn't do is put 17 of them in there.
Yeah.
Just put one.
So you just lay it on the bottom of the.
I put it on the top. Put your clothes in, put it right on the top.
Oh. Okay, now how do you determine when it's overloaded?
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. How do you determine when it's overloaded?
Yeah.
I think that typically it depends on the size. Like if you have a washer that in your apartment is going to be different than the washer in the community space.
I'm talking about the laundry rooms.
Okay. I would typically I think those, if you get a duvet in there, that's what I would put in there. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't go, if you should be able to see the drum in the back easily. And here's the thing, you can get a duvet, you can get 6 duvets in and pack it down so you can see it. That's overfilled. You don't want to pack it down. You should be able to throw things in, and you should see about halfway without, I got to get more in. You should just be able to toss it in. I think, yeah, I think about you should be able to see half. So let's say this is the drum. That's a weird shaped drum. You should be able to see at least that much out of the top without packing it down. So you throw your clothes in there, and you should be able to see that. And that's a heavy load. So that's that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
What would you recommend as high efficiency laundry detergent? What brands? I have another question after that.
There are a lot of brands. Tide makes. I think almost every brand makes it. Tide. It depends on what you use. Some people have sensitive skin, but it's just got to have this logo. This is a standardized logo that it'll have. So if it has this, you're good.
There's someone else.
And what about if there's mold already in the?
If there's mold already,
Yeah. What do I do with it? How do I get rid of it?
right there, right
Oh,
there.
really? Oh, you do it. Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Or Nancy, then Judy, and then I'm coming.
Did you have a question?
I was gonna ask, are the washing machines down on the B level next to facilities available for bigger loads?
Yes, they're larger, but again, you still want to follow the same practice with any washer and dryer. Yes, they're the LGs, and that's what they have typically that's our new standard in the North Tower. Are those LGs they're a bigger washer, and if they can fit into an apartment, they're a little bit bigger. So that's what I would go with.
Okay, so Nancy, and then I'm going front row.
Okay,
Hi, Mark.
be easy.
So just to clarify, the high-energy liquid soap, this comes up in Eco News, you only need 1 tablespoon. So I don't want people to be confused that they look at the container and think, oh, there's a low level and a high level. That's related to powdered soap. That's different than high-energy liquid soap.
That there inside there's and if you look at it, it's probably it'll have a maximum. See, it says liquid detergent. It'll say it. There's a tray in there, and it'll have a different level, and it'll say something that it'll say for powder. This is a generic one.
Right.
So what you're saying is right. I'm just saying that some of the newer ones that we're encountering, it is that same amount, but it just says, like in this example, it says liquid detergent. And so it's the same amount. So it's designed for that.
Well, liquid detergent depends on if it's high energy or not.
I think that the recommended is the high energy. That's what they're recommending for this type.
Well, just to clarify, though, if you have high-energy liquid soap, you do not need more than 1 tablespoon. And the other thing that can work is a short cycle to save energy.
Excellent point. And
Thank
a short cycle on the wash. Again, you want to adjust the amount of clothes that you put in.
And you didn't mention this, but
I was waiting for you to do it.
I know.
That's why.
I think it's important to also mention that at least in the North Tower, there are vents above the dryer, and those get really clogged up. We vacuum ours every month.
Yeah. So that and that they have some of those in the common space. The common space, there's a vent in there too, and that just kind of vents. That just keeps kind of fresh air introduced in that because it can get a little warm. It's not sucking air out. It's just a vent. Absolutely. And if you find that yours is getting dusty and you need, let me get back to my slide, my favorite slide of the day. If you find that your vents are, are dusty and you need and you can't reach it or you need it to be cleaned out? Work orders.
We got one here.
Okay.
And then front row, and then.
Okay, so I'm gonna get her and then you're next.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for mentioning about how heat can travel on those surfaces, because I had an incident. Actually, I wasn't even cooking, and I came back in my kitchen and something was aflame.
Ooh.
And it was because I had inadvertently nudged a dial. I had it was barely turned. I would not have seen it with my eye.
Right, right.
And I had left a flammable towel on there.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of smoke and my my alarm went off, but
Yeah.
other than that, no fire department. But my question stems from that. So because of that, nearby wire of a small appliance got damaged. And Facilities was up to help me and they saw it. They suggested I might be able to submit it. Does Facilities ever, are they able to repair anything like that for a small appliance for a resident?
The cord,
The
power
cord, right, it's just a damaged cord.
I think we'd have to, it's a case by case. We'd have
Okay.
to look at it. I couldn't definitively say, oh, yeah, we can take care of that.
But it'd
Yeah.
be okay to submit it and
Yeah,
ask?
and absolutely.
Thank you. Work order, got it, thank you.
All right. Okay, right here, yes.
OxyClean.
OxyClean.
It's a,
Yep.
so I've been I've been here 4 months and I'm using it like these huge washing machines I had back home and using too much, I'm sure. Is there any
Okay.
guidance on how much OxyClean to use instead of bleach?
Well, again, if it's a bleach type of OxyClean, I don't know about the different types.
No, it's all,
So if it's high efficiency is what I would recommend using. And I would, unfortunately, if you have something that's not that, I would refrain from using it.
Okay, going to Susan.
all right, so then the second question, pods.
Tide Pods, those are typically high efficiency, and I would throw them into the
Yeah.
not into the, hang on, into the barrel, into the tub. Yeah.
That's what I'm doing now with OxyClean. I put it in before on the bottom, put white
Now,
stuff.
the thing you want to make sure is the pods that you use have this symbol. If it does
I've
not,
never seen that symbol anywhere.
well, then then I would not use it. Yeah.
Well, where do you buy things? Where do you go?
Any grocery store, any pharmacy, online,
Pharmacy.
Costco, yeah, you'll see it. It looks like this on everything, and that's
Ask
that's the
Nancy.
right stuff.
Ask Nancy.
They're plastic. You're putting plastic in our water source.
Ask Nancy. Talk to Nancy.
It's really, is it compatible to use? And so they might not be good for the environment, but if it has this symbol, you can use it. I can't, I'm not going to legislate anyone's environmental opinion, but what I can do is say what you can use, and if it has that symbol, you can use it.
And my last question.
Yes.
I have an induction stove,
Uh-huh.
stainless steel and cast iron, works perfect. Nothing else. I have to
Okay.
Get rid of everything else. It's not, usually you have those things.
Well, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
But I've just automatically turned my fan on now when I'm cooking, because who knows what's going to smoke and what isn't going to smoke. And I've had several visits by the fire people, and I don't want that to happen again. But I think I cannot read the instructions on the community washer and dryer.
Okay, and that's a great opportunity to put in a work order and have somebody come up and kind of walk you through the steps.
Could we set it up where everybody that would like to come and find out how to work it?
If you want to put in a work order and have your neighbors, and we can have a show and tell right there and go
I
through the
think that'd be
process.
great.
That'd be great. Yeah, set it up.
I will.
I'll come and show you. I'll do it myself. I'll bring the microphone. It'll be
Okay,
great.
good. Thank you.
Okay, going to Susan, then Anna, and then I'm going
Before I do the question, I have been taught for a long time that in spite of what things might say to put in the washer, the fact that we have such soft water means you can use even less amount of detergent, and an additional factor on top of the HE issue is our soft water.
Absolutely.
And goes to what Nancy was saying about don't just rely on those.
Right.
They're mass produced for nationwide.
Absolutely. You're 1,000% correct. I used to be in the coffee industry, and we do have soft water here in Seattle, and that is absolutely correct. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, and thank you.
Okay, now my question.
But let me before you go to the question, let me touch on that. These are amounts. So if you want to put less, by all means put less. What it's saying is don't exceed, and that's really where you can get into trouble. And so if you want to use no soap, use no soap. If you want to use a 1/4 teaspoon, but just don't exceed the recommended amount.
On these, I have stacked washers. They're GE. They are very small.
Yes.
And they sit on the floor, or the washer.
Yeah.
The washer's
Washers on the floor, dryers on the top.
And it can accommodate, not a duvet, it can accommodate one sheet. Same with the dryer.
So-
one sheet. And I can easily stoop down, bend, and whatever, but I mean, the door to the washing machine is like that far off the floor.
Right.
And I'm wondering why they don't put them.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
And I was told when I asked about the size and only one sheet,
okay.
I was told, well, that's a standard size washer.
Let me get in there and answer it. All right. Two things. First of all, you're right. They're stackable now, and the washer's on the bottom because it's the heaviest, and you don't want water. And
Of course,
So
right.
the washer's always going to be on the bottom. The reason that they're not on pedestals, and you've seen some that are on pedestals, is because there's got to be a certain clearance. And as you put them on pedestals, it might not actually fit into your
But
unit.
these washers they're so small.
I understand. I understand that. So that's my second. That's
Yeah.
my second thing. So it has to fit is the first answer to your question, and to put it on a pedestal, it doesn't fit. The second part is the reason that they're small is because the space that you're in. I'm imagining you're in the Central and East Tower, correct?
No, I'm in the North Tower.
You're in the North Tower?
And I'm in a 900 plus square
Okay,
foot
okay.
apartment.
So-
and it's very generous.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have room on the side?
Yes, I
Okay.
have room on both sides.
So if you
And my apartment has higher ceilings because of where it is in the building.
I'm going to tell you this. They can't put a pedestal because pedestals aren't, you pick the size, they're a standard size. A pedestal and then putting a stackable, it will not fit in that space, which is why they're not there. To answer your question about getting a larger washer and dryer, you might be able to find or upgrade to one that they made. When they first opened the North Tower, that's the size that would fit. That was just it. Now there are some that are a little bit larger. I think you have an LG, Nancy, is that what you have? And some of the that's a newer style, and it's a little bit bigger. I think you originally had a GE.
I have the original.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think to answer her question, one of the things that would help for us people that are seniors is the top loading. So you're not having to get.
So let me get to that. But I think in the very beginning I said we're talking about the top loading. There are benefits to that top loading versus the bottom loading. We're kind of weighing that out right now. So and this is all going forward. Originally, when the original equipment was, it was top. Was it top loading? Yeah.
We had the front loading, which was original from 2007.
Right. Right.
It broke.
Right.
We got an LG.
LG, which is a little bit bigger.
It is big.
Yeah.
And it would fit. It fits more than just one sheet.
Right, and now it depends on it really depends on the layout of your apartment. Some of the washer and there's, I know, you're not gonna be able to stack. You're not gonna be able to get a pedestal. It won't fit that way. Now, hang on. Let me finish. So if you wanted to upgrade to like an LG, like you have, that we can definitely have that conversation offline.
Okay, and just these were brand new. My apartment was completely rehabbed before I moved in
Sure.
2022.
Sure.
So these are not old.
Right.
And
But so the LG
So-
standard started after, I think we started that in 2023. That's when that sort of, yeah. So, but the LG, when that appliance went in, that was kind of the standard size. Now they're getting a little bit bigger. So that's the reason why.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, go to Jeff. Then we're going to
I
Michael.
you might have mentioned this. We use the laundry room, and on the washer, I cannot figure out how to change the heat if I want to wash something in cold water. It's all programmed for warm, and that's it.
Yeah. I'm happy to, if you put in a work order, I'm happy to have one of the team or myself come up and kind of go through how to use it. Because we're all using it differently, depending on what we have. Some people wash in cold only. Some people want warm water. And I will say this, the hot and warm water, it's basically hot water coming. It's not a heat pump or anything adding hot water. It's just hot water from the inline. And so if you want someone to come up and walk you through that and get you trained up on that, happy to have somebody come up
I'll
and
do
do that.
that. I've been here 9 years. I could never get that thing to say cold, so.
Okay, I'm happy to come up and have somebody come up. Hi.
I would like to know about cleaning the lint from the washing machines in the north building.
You're talking about the lint trap?
Yes.
I would suggest, and under best practices, is after every wash, I would clean the lint trap. After every wash. Or after every drying cycle, I would clean the lint trap. Sorry.
I know about the dryer.
Okay.
It's just, I wonder what's happening to the lint and where it's going if it builds up.
You're talking about in
The washing machine, the clothes washer.
Okay, so typically there is a kind of filter that it kind of goes through at the bottom, and if you feel like your clothes aren't getting clean, then put in a work order, and I can have a engineer come up and look at that. Typically, they kind of stay. It's just to keep heavy debris, and if you let's say I was playing in the mud and I have rocks and that kind of thing, it's typically going to trap that. And then if I bring all of those muddy clothes in, then I'm definitely want to clean that trap. But if it's just regular wear and tear, if you want to do it on a yearly basis and just say, hey guys, come up and clean my lint trap, because they have to kind of bend down and shut the water, there's a little bit of water that comes out as they clean that, if I remember correctly.
Okay, but it's okay not to pay attention to it then?
For
normal wash?
If it's, it should be. If it's impacting if you feel like your washer isn't washing clothes.
No, that's not the case.
Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't worry about it unless you're out there playing in the gravel and mud.
Okay.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Thank you.
Mary, then Bonnie.
Okay.
Hi, thanks for being and offering us this today.
Yes.
I have two questions. One, I've moved into a new level, another floor, in January,
Yes.
and I don't understand the washing instructions either. Could I put in a work order for the instructions, a copy of them to be hung in our laundry room?
The instructions it can be. I can bring a copy. We try to do that in the beginning, but it's a lot. It's a thick book, and there's so many variables. We found that it was more confusing. So typically we've hung like a generic, like these 3 steps. But if somebody wants a more in-depth, deep dive into it, it's better a one-on-one. Like, hey, because then I'll know. Get a better feel for how you're using it and what your expectations are. Some people use it for big items and they don't, some people are really, so we want to tailor that sort of practice based on how you're using it. And so we're happy to come up and kind of walk you through that.
Can you send us the link to the manual?
I can.
Can you
absolutely.
put it in every room so we can look them up
Like
ourselves?
I said, it's a stack. There is a QR code in the door that you can take a picture of and get all of that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you could. Yeah, the QR code. Typically with the newer washers, there's not a serial number on it. It's baked into the QR code, and so that's what I would typically use.
I see. Okay. Then my other question is my new stove.
Yes.
It's lovely, and it has 5 burners, but only instructions to how to turn on 4 of them.
That's
There are
interesting.
3 small ones in the back.
Okay.
And in the middle one in the back. There are no controls.
Well, again,
There is a manual for that.
if you want to put in a work order, I can have somebody from the team come up and we'll get to the bottom of that.
Okay. Thank you.
I promise you.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Bonnie?
Am I next?
Yes.
Okay, your team's going to be busy. I use the dryer on a time dry
Yes.
because I pretty much figured that out. But the other question I have is that you said there isn't a sensor that says, "Oh, I'm dry. Let's stop drying it." It seems to me there is, because sometimes I set it for 35 minutes,
Right.
and then I usually go back a bit earlier just in case
Right.
it's finished in 30 minutes, and I will find it stopped.
So remember, I said that they disable the sensing component that says, "Oh, it's completely dry."
Right.
But they have one sensor in place that says, "Wait a minute, this could start a fire." So if it dries out and it's super dry, and it's like, "Wait a minute, this is getting like parchment paper," like then it's going to stop it. It's going to say this might not be safe, and that's the only sensor that might be in place.
Well,
so are you finding?
No,
that-
I put it on, I dry most things on medium heat
Right.
because I
Right.
want the fabrics to last forever.
Right.
And so, and I know that my sheets take 35 minutes. But I will go in there, and after 30 minutes, it's stopped and the sheets are dry.
Let me ask you this: the sheets are dry. Okay. Without seeing it myself, I think that there might be 2 things. First of all, your sheets are dry, so yay. Secondly, maybe someone's gone in and like peeked, like, is there stuff dry, and close it and not restart it. Could be a possibility.
The other thing, you said something about using the washing machine on a short cycle.
Do
Do I have to get somebody up there to show me where that is? Because I love to have short cycles.
Yeah. Again, without.
Okay.
Yep.
Fine.
Any other questions? Thank you all. Appliances are fun, right? Thank you for coming to Facilities Fridays. I appreciate each and every one of you, and have a great weekend.